How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the weekly trading review for the week of September 8th. So, going to be a quick video today since I got to get ready for my vacation. I'm going to Hawaii. So, I'm not going to get into all of the nitty gritty detail. I'm just going to talk about generally here's what the market did. We'll look at the swings more in detail, and I'll kind of breeze through the day trades. Not get a lot of in depth, just saying, hey, look, here's the general idea, and then here's where I exited and where I entered. So I wanted to get this out on Friday or today because won't be back for the next week, and these trades won't really be as fresh in my head when I come back. All right, so market this week, pretty bullish week. We finished kind of bearish last Friday, but we had this nice long tail above the 8 EMA. It also held the prior day's low and the 15 EMA, and since then the market was kind of flat. We got a little pop-up here on the 10th from the PPI, and I think as well as there was another kind of announcement, and then we got another nice trend day on CPI. So you can see that usually we get one decent trend day during the week at some point. So definitely actually another bullish week with the market closing at an all-time high and coming pretty close to 660, which is definitely quite bullish. Now, we broke through the top of this trend line. We have this bottom trend line here, so it is still bullish as far as I'm concerned, but it's nothing I would think I'd go overboard. I'm just waiting for dips, and on those dips, you can cycle in and take some longs and take gains near the all-time high and wait for the next dip to kind of get in. So with that, let's take a look at some of the swings that I closed. So I had 4 closed swing trades this week. The first was Reddit. So I'd taken it all the way back last week on this breakout of the candle. It had actually fallen back down and then recovered pretty well, so I stayed in the trade. 8th, we had a nice red candle, and then on the 9th, on Tuesday, we recovered some of that, and then we got a nice pop-up. And I was targeting 250, so I took gains at that level at an order out. So an order out at 565, which hit that level. So I took this trade. I got in at this CDS for $3.50. And then I got out at $2.15. So pretty nice profit. That's a 61% return on that guy. Next trade that I closed this week was Starbucks. So I took the trade over here on the 8th. Starbucks had broken through this prior support over here. This prior level right here, and it had a ton of room until some of these candles right here. You can see there's a high volume candle around 81.30. So that was my target. It had a chance to also break that as well. And so my really hard target was probably like 80 something, but 81.30 was $80 my target. But this week it was just kind of leaking lower, and this is a really steady move lower on the 11th, or just this whole week, right? Pretty much from the 8th. Here's the 8th onward, so I took it on Monday, and it just leaked the entire week down while the market was actually rallying. So I like that. To me, it confirmed that this is a pretty weak sector, consumer cyclical. And I gave it time. I took the what did I take? Let me just make sure I got the right week here. All right, on the 8th. All right, yeah, so I took the October 10th 8380 PDS for $1.02. I took 4 contracts of that. And I was like, look, I feel like SPY's probably going to pull back at some point, and if it does, Starbucks should head lower on that pullback, but I didn't know if it was going to wiggle around or kind of come back or whatnot. So Starbucks kind of kept grinding and riding lower here. And today it was selling off here, and then it broke through one high volume candle, which was I think somewhere around here, somewhere like 81.71 here, 81.50. There's a couple of high volume candles coming in here. So just watching the price action. Then we got a nice long candle. If I look at Starbucks, you can see today. So we got a nice long candle here, and then it got gobbled back up. And then as it got smacked down, I just put I had my order out for $1.50 credit. So I took gain. So that was a 48-cent gain, or 48-cent gain contract. So pretty much I took 45% on that, and that was a pretty nice win. Obviously, ended up bouncing today. Still pretty bearish on the daily chart, so certainly could go lower. But since I was on vacation and I had some nice profits, I figured I'd just take a good gain on the table. Oh, next one that I took was Galaxy. This is a pretty quick in and out overnight swing trade. So this is the daily chart on Galaxy. I took it on Thursday. It had broken through this high plus trend line and hit a little bit of resistance here. You can see there's a lot of touches, high volume touches around 30, and that also, I mean, that coincides with a nice little option OI level. So kind of big resistance level at 30. And if I look at the chart on Galaxy, it had broken through. Right, it had broken through this support, came back, tested it, made a nice run up, came back and tested this support, which was below VWAP. So it tested that over here, and then it started to find some relative strength and get above VWAP at the end of the day. So I saw this setup. I thought it looked really nice. So I took the September 26th, 25 calls for $4.50, kind of right on the close. And then in the next morning, I had my target out for the high of the day, and I was able to take profits at $5 at $5 flat. So made nice little 11% gain on that quick trade. Potentially had a chance you could squeeze out maybe like I don't know, get in closer to like 420, maybe exit for like 520, something like that, with a little bit of a better bid. But that was a nice quick win. It was gonna be an overnight trade because again, I didn't want to load up on new positions over the weekends. It was just kind of closing out existing positions, but the market was bullish on the into the close, and I felt that this was a good trade that had pulled back, found support, starting to rally up, and I could at least take gains into this next leg higher. So that was Galaxy, and then the final swing trade that ended up being literally a 2-minute swing trade was BA. So this stock, it had broken through the 50 SMA and had room to the 100, although it did have some support. You can see around this low here, just under 216. There was some support. So I took it really early in the day. I took next week's PDS, which was the 217.50 and 215 PDS, expiring next week. Figuring that, all right, if it goes back against me, I can probably scratch out and give myself time to get out of the trade. BA was moving lower, and I took it right here, so I got in that PDS for $1.10. And I was looking to take maybe like, you know, if it hits 215 here, or maybe gets closer to like something like that, like I can get maybe 20 cents or 20% on that. BA put in this high volume hammer, and I was like, I don't really like this high volume hammer coming in right at this level right here, because I thought this level would be maybe a little bit significant, but not super significant. It's still maybe, I'm not sure, but given that it didn't blow through it right away, I just scratched out of the trade, so I got out at $1.11 credit, so I just took a $1 gain per contract on that guy. So those were the 4 swings that I closed out. Let's look into some of the day trades I took this week, starting with UNH. So UNH had a nice breakthrough, nice breakout through, the gap. Let me get it over here. Nice breakout through the gap here on the 13th. Big compression break. Really, really nice volume. Had a little bit of follow through. Probably needs to pull back to the 8 EMA and then push a little bit higher. So that's kind of what I'm watching for on UNH. And this is an interesting one because I was also watching some of the option levels. I ended up taking this as a swing as well. But I'm just going to kind of get into all of the different, all of the different scalps that I did on this guy, because it was a pretty LPTE day on Monday, you can see, so there's nothing really moving, but UNH was really moving on volume. So I didn't have a ton of market confidence as to what I wanted to do in terms of really sticking with the position, because sometimes even these high volume stocks, they can kind of fizzle out and go against you and pull back, especially if you're taking breakouts to the high of the day or something like that. So I'm going to start with, I took 3 scalps on this, and the goal was just take some $1 scalps. You're in and out of the trade. You can kind of evaluate and get in on dips. So first, there was a really nice move here, entry here on 11, where you could take it all the way up to the gap fill. And that was a nice place to take gains. You had a nice $7 on this guy there. Pulled back to the 8 EMA, started to get up over here, and then it broke above this gap fill at 12.10. So I took this one at 242.20. And then I took pretty much $1 over here at 243.20. Just as it popped up a little bit. So you can see it's really easy to get $1. It's just kind of barely moving. Pulled back a little bit over here. Broke up to a new high. Got this nice little red candle, then a bullish engulf on the 8 EMA. So then I got long again on UNH at 346.20, and then I took another dollar at 347.20 over here on the next candle. So that was trade number 2. And then trade number 3, you got this nice compression break to the high of the day. So I got long at 348.50. We had a pause, and then the next candle I got filled at 349.50 for another dollar. So pretty much that day I was just kind of scalping UNH. I find that on these LPT days, it's kind of nice to stick with the ticker and then just like find a nice ticker. You can take one nice really long trade on it. If you want to scalp it, you can if you feel comfortable doing that. So that was kind of what I was sticking with here, just really finding a stock with some nice volume and sinking your teeth into it. All right, so next day on the 10th, took 2 trades here. Both ended up being pretty small. First was SMCI. Took that on the 10th as it popped up and broke above the 200. I took it really early in the day, so I took it off this this hammer right here. I got in at 44.85, and then you can see it pulled back again. I didn't really like that. Broke below VWAP, so on this next pop-up, I just scratched it at 45.86. So took a 1 cent gain, and I got out of the position. Ended up working out because it blew down quite a bit over here. But yeah, that was a nice kind of steady grinder initially. It kind of paused here, and then I figured it had a chance to make another leg higher, and when it didn't, you can always usually get out on the next leg. I also had a chance on this guy to add to the position, but because I got a really good fill, kind of right around VWAP, this first pop here, I was able to scratch and get out of it. So that was SMCI. Next one that I took was CMG, and this one is one that I really did. I liked quite a bit, and it ended up actually materializing kind of a day after. But so CMJ took this on the 10th. You can see that it broke through this this compression breakout here, kind of getting through some follow through on that. There was some high volume candles coming here, kind of around 38.40 to 38.30. So that's kind of where I was targeting. On the 10th, you can see SPY kind of mildly bullish for the day. So it's not really doing a whole lot. I should also mention too that I didn't take a lot of trades on the. Sorry, actually, I made a mistake on UNH. I said I took it on the 8th. I took the UNH all on the 9th. On the 8th, I didn't really take a lot of. I didn't take any day trades. I was just kind of watching because it was just so dead and there was nothing going on. So CMG, I took it short, kind of in the middle of this pop here. I got in at 38.82, popped up, and then we got a smackdown over here. And this is one where I was just kind of adding to the trade because I really like this steady price action. So I got in 4 shares at 38.82. I added 4 shares at 38.67. As we got this kind of bearish smackdown over here. Then I added another couple of shares. I think where did I add it here? At oh, sorry, added over here. So I added at 38. Where was it? Yes, 38. So 38.82, 38.67, and 38.62. So basically, when I was in this trade at an average position over here of 38.70, and the stock was kind of over here. Now, I was getting close to these high volume levels, but I figured I had a chance to actually come through and test closer to 38.30, which it did the next day, and then it started to find some support. But there was still some high volume stuff it was churning through on this day. So I took off a third at 38.62, and then I scratched out of the remaining here at 38.69. So basically, all in all, I took a 3 cent gain on a 3x position. So and CMG, and I'm using 4 shares because it's kind of a slower mover here. So that translated to like about a 40 cent gain overall if we're thinking about it as, you know, one share equivalents here. So, you know, not a obviously I wanted to get a little bit more on that, and maybe had a chance over here. But yeah, just didn't manifest in that case. All right, on the 11th, I took quite a few trades on the 11th. My most traded day. I typically have one of these where I'd get like a whole bunch of trades going on here. So I think the ones that I'm not going to call out all of these here. I'm going to call out two in particular. So I'm going to call it MU because this was a trade that I got in again on this bearish hammer. It didn't manifest, and I actually got out right here because as it broke through this low. So I got in at $3.32, and then I got in at 154, got out at 150.68. So that was a $3.32 loss. That was my only loss for the week, and obviously it did push back up. So I think I got it early, and when it didn't produce and it started to get through this low, I wasn't crazy about it, but it did actually end up pushing back up to the high of the day, and it did have some fall through the next day. So I think I honestly needed to give that trade a little bit more time, or at least a chance to scratch through. I didn't need to take the loss on that one, but I thought there was a chance it could always test the low and maybe pop up. So kind of tricky like that. So that was my loss on MU. I did take a nice win on RCAT. So RCAT breaking out of compression and had some room to. There was a couple of high volume candles at around 11:25 ish. So RCAT was pulling back here. It had this really nice move here. We got this nice strong move up here, compressed near the high day and broke out. So this was a nice flagpole break. So I bid a little bit lower. I got in at 1075 versus this high of or the lows of 1087. Stock pulled back to VWAP and then sort of break through this high plus trend line here. So this is actually where you could add to the trade at 1205. But if you look at what was happening on the 11th here, it was a bullish day. But I think the market was kind of stalling out at the high of the day, and I didn't know if it was going to roll over or not. So I didn't end up adding to the trade. But I just rode this trade all the way to the high, and then I got out at 11.15. So that was a really nice win. Took 40 cents per share, and I took 4 shares of that because it's a bit of a slower mover. So it was $1.60 overall. And I had 1 or 2 small little trades on UNH and a couple of scratches on Netflix and Reddit. So nothing really too noteworthy there. And on Friday, I did take Oracle. That's the last noteworthy one that I took. I took 3 trades this day. I had win on Oracle, and then 1 win in Oracle, and then another tiny win in Oracle, and another tiny win in Tesla. But Oracle was a nice kind of move lower here. LPT on SPY, pull back to VWAP, and then it started to kind of break through this candle. So I got short here at 296, and I was just looking for a $1.50 scalp, which I got on the next candle. And then, then took some nice profits on that guy. So that was a nice win on Oracle. And I will just end with some of the open positions that I'm in here. So a couple of trades that I'm in here. First one is UNH. So I took a, let's get this up over here. Let's get this up over. Okay, UNH. So I took the September 26, 350, 360 CDS for 380. And I took it near kind of the end of the day as it closed into the gap. Next day it pulled back, tested this level and held, and had this doji sandwich set up in the gap. So I added to it. And I think it's because I think both Dave and Med had added to it. And I was like, this is actually a really good add scenario. So I added to this. And I added the same CDS for 325. So my average was 357 on, and this is in terms of my max risk, which is $450. I was at about 718 or 715. So I was about 1.5x position, if you want to look at it like that. Next day did hit my target, but I feel like I maybe was a little bit greedy here. I was like, you know what? Like sometimes I've been taking these CDSs too short, so maybe I should just kind of hold off here. But I did not take it. It hit 360, and I knew that it could probably stall at 360, but I didn't think it would crack. I thought it would stall, but not like hard reject it. It happened at 350 where it hit 350, right, kind of stalled out here, pushed up to 360. There's a lot of OI over there, pull back, and the next big level is at 370, which is what I'm looking at here. So it might have to pull back to the 8 EMA. It does have 2 weeks for it to work, so I feel like it has time to kind of wiggle and jiggle around. But I took partial gains on the position, so I closed one half at 450 instead of my original target of 560, which I would have hit. So I feel kind of a little bit dumb about that, but it is what it is. So yeah, I closed that one at 560, or sorry, 450, and then I'm holding part of that position for while I'm out, I should say. So that was the one swing that I'm in. The other trade that I took was CDNS. I took the 919 calls, 919, 365, 370 calls. It looked pretty good here on this breakout. We got some bearish news related to snaps that I think it probably came down, made this big bullish hammer here. And then I was like, all right, I guess the spread is toast. And then it rallied up here, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess the spread is back over here. I have an order out to scratch this, so if it can, I was like, maybe it'll probably fill in the gap at least. And then broke through AVWAP Q, came back, and then the next day gap down, rejected off AVWAP Q, went back into the bottom of the range. So just a pretty choppy stock, and I'm probably going to try to scratch out of this one if I can. I have an order. I got in at $1.90 per contract, so I'm going to try to get out at $1.95 if I can. It expires this week, so I need another big move up over here, which it could happen, it could not happen. But yeah, that's CDNS that I am in. Next one that I took was Run. So I took it on this breakout right over here last Friday. Or sorry, I liked it last Friday. I got in this Monday on a better bid. Pull back to the 8 EMA in this bottom trend line, kind of held. Had a nice pop up on the 11th, but then that got smacked down. And it's kind of doing nothing today. So I feel like this might be a loss, but I'm going to wait to see if it closes below the 8 EMA and this downward sloping trend line, and then I'll get the loss. But on Run, I have the 1017 14 calls for $4. So they're pretty deep in the money. I got timeout, so I'm not like crazy worried about this. I have time for this to play out on Run. I'm an AFRM. So this stock, I took it right over here, and I took where did I take this AFRM? I took the 926, 95, 100 CDS, so just targeting this high here. Obviously, that did not work out, or has not worked out so far. It's pulled back this week, has found some support on this gap, but it's looking pretty bearish. So this is another one where if it can break through this, if it can kind of compress and break through this trend line, then we're off to the races. But this week, if I can just scratch out of this trade right now, I'm okay, because it's not really doing a whole lot. Kind of compressing, doing nothing, so it needs to get to my target. Okay, so I'm in those. Other one I am in, or this last one that I'm in, is Netflix. And this one I took it over here on the 4th, had this nice little breakout, and I was targeting the fill of this gap here at around 274. Got a little pop up, and then it fell back down. It was kind of chopping around here, and then the 11th we got a real big sell off in Netflix. Big sell off. So I was like, oh damn, it really broke through both SMAs, closed right on the 100. Through its AVWAP E. Next day we got a test and then some follow-through selling. So certainly some bearish price action, and it's looking like this could be a potential bearish reversal. So we'll see how Netflix does. There might be like a short-term kind of PDS setup going up over here. Maybe I can recuperate some of those losses, but unless this can break it back above this week, which is when my spread expires, then it's gonna be pretty toast. So. Those are the open positions I'm in, and the last one is Bull. So Bull, I took profits on another short call. So I took 8 cents profit on the 1450 calls. I sold them for a 10-cent credit, bought them back for a 2-cent debit on Thursday, and then I sold the 919 $15 calls, and I have a working order out for like a 5-cent debit. So if I get that filled sometime this week, then I just don't have to worry about that getting exercised. And then that'll probably fill even if I'm not monitoring the position. So, yeah, so that's it. And yeah, so this week I'll reiterate again. So total profits, 461.84, 17 wins, 1 loss on my swings, 457, 4 wins and 0 losses. And on the day trades, 484, 13 wins and 1 loss. So pretty nice week. Obviously had a red week last week, but I'm just kind of moving forward, not really letting it affect me. I feel fairly unaffected. I don't think it's really really messing with my trading, which is good. And yeah, and I think the best way to recover from those losses is just continue to make good trades. So these are positions that I'm on this week. I have some scratch orders out for most of them, except UNH, which I'm really going to try to ride. But out of all the other remaining ones, they're looking like they could be toast. So I have some orders out if I get a kind of a beneficial bounce sometime next week. Maybe it could be FOMC related. I might get a nice ability to exit, and that's what I'm going to do. So that's it for the video today. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all when I get back.